Good evening, YouTube. Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. This looks a little different. It does, because I actually just got hooked up with a new computer thanks to my brother and sister-in-law. So big shout out to them. Hopefully this video goes a lot smoother than the previous ones, and it'll be a little bit faster from here on out. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the video here. We pretty much already know the situation at this point. Record cold is pretty much inevitable at this point. It's coming, and it's coming in full force. Probably going to be the coldest Christmas for a lot of folks within the last 40 years. In fact, so cold we already have wind chill warnings and wind chill advisories, and even wind chill watches, which are really rare, already in effect. Winter storm watches are also in effect. Winter storm warnings towards the northwest, and winter weather advisories as well. This is the National Weather Service map. These areas towards that are in the light blue here along this region are our wind chill advisory, excuse me, and then in a slightly darker tint of sky blue, I guess you would call it that, would be the wind chill warnings. Over here we have winter storm watches already in effect, so that means winter storm conditions could be expected within the next 48 hours. Over here we have winter storm warnings. Conditions could be ongoing over here right now, as well as winter weather advisories, plus a few wind chill advisories of our own over here towards the far reaches of the northwest here. I do expect to see more wind chill advisories spread further out to the east and to the south as well throughout the next couple of days as we draw closer to the start of this event. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the precip, because like I said, we're pretty much beating it to death at this point, to where we know what's gonna be going on with the temperatures. It's just gonna be downright cold and kind of tough to deal with. But as far as the precip goes, we're starting to get somewhere, and I'm saying that very carefully because I really feel like this could be a nowcast situation. I'm hoping the models have it right, because this seems like it's going to be a tricky forecast. Winter storms are often really hard to forecast in general, so we'll just have to play it out and see how things run here. But as of right now, the trend with the low pressures here moving a little bit more off to the north and east continues. This piece of energy is still very much prevalent in the all the model runs that I've looked at. But here's where our main area of low pressure is. It's pretty far to the north. In fact, it looks like it trended a little further north today on the GFS. And then this kind of stiffs a little bit more the areas towards the Carolinas and the far reaches of the southeast, like Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. Makes me kind of sad. I was hoping for a little bit of snow, not too much though. But over towards the Ohio Valley, we could be seeing some pretty hefty snow totals, and then maybe even some blizzard conditions on the backside of this, possibly. Whether it would meet the criteria for a blizzard is in question, because this storm system definitely looks like it's getting a move on pretty quickly here. But the snow totals are definitely going to be immense, because you can see this storm starting to really deepen as we move forward here. So we run this along, and over towards West Virginia, we're in areas towards the mid-Atlantic. We'll start out as rain, and we'll be switching over to snow, and it'll be heavy at times for the most part. But the GFS is starting to really take a trend towards what the Euro has been showing for a while now. This wasn't unexpected on my part, but the two models look pretty identical at this point. And this is towards the afternoon of Christmas Day. Not much going on there. We go towards the 26th. And here's an interesting little feature that I've noticed today when I looked at the 18Z run. I was actually still out at the gym. But this little Alberta clipper here has a pretty sufficient low pressure. And it's pretty weak, But this is what you would want for a southeastern snow system. It's 168 hours out, so we can start maybe comparing this with the Euro soon. This will be one to watch after the fact, but we do see that cold air kind of push in, and maybe that could mean some potential snow for the southeast before the year ends. We'll have to see how that trends. Alberta clippers are even harder to track compared to the system that we have now, so that could literally be over on its head within the next couple of model runs. So don't get too excited. That's the only thing I can really say at this point. So this is what we're dealing with right now on the 29th. A couple of bigger systems north of the border, and then of course towards the new year, that's when we start looking at severe weather potential, maybe even some flooding potential. And then after that, it's pretty unclear what happens next. But the main thing we're concerned about right now is more towards Christmas. Make our comparison with the Euro here, and we're going to actually go ahead and use the 18Z today because we're starting to get within range of it now. So 90 hours doesn't really hurt us anymore. But here's our storm system. This part is pretty much set in stone. But interestingly enough, this piece of energy comes out a little bit earlier, but still, it's pretty much the same look. If anything, the Euro is actually trended a little further south, because the Euro kind of came out just after I went home, so after I got home, so I haven't really had a chance to look at this honestly. But this low starts to deepen, but it's a little bit weaker, and that's a key element towards maybe a bigger snowstorm a little bit further south, and we can kind of see that here. So like I said, for the southeast areas, hope isn't lost. The Ohio Valley, you're pretty much a shoe-in for some heavy snow. You may start out as rain with this scenario, but you are going to get heavy snow out of this. There is no question about it. I'm going to actually move this back over to 12Z now to finish out the rest of this, because I would have to wait till about 1 a.m. and I'm pretty sure no one wants to be up at 1 a.m. to watch a video. I mean, I'd appreciate it. The thought was that it would be very thoughtful, but I don't even want to be up that late because I got to work. That being said, let's go up to about 114 hours out if I can get this thing to stay. Joys of having a new computer. But this is what we have going on here towards the 23rd into the 24th. This really is giving a lot more snow towards the Ohio Valley, more so than any other area. Towards mid-Atlantic and Northeast, with this scenario as it stands right now towards this time frame, looks like you guys could be stiffed by this. The Euro's been favoring this storm system being kicked into the just kicked north of the border. After it starts to get into the Ohio Valley, it just gets almost funneled that way, just by the trough. Interestingly enough, though, it has that same scenario playing out with the little clipper that's after the fact, so that's something to keep an eye on too. And then as we draw close to the new year, a bigger storm system comes in around the 29th, so we'll have to keep an eye on what that does. Looks like we start to get some warm air back in place. Do I think it'll be enough for anything significant? Time will only tell, because we're already at the end of this model run here. So here's a look at the GDPS now at this point. Oops, we've jumped out too far. And for the most part, we've been on a similar look with the Euro. If anything, well, with the GFS and the Euro, Snow Shield is still pretty impressive, but we're kind of leaning more towards the GFS now at this point. Still sufficient snow on the tail end, but the southeast looks like it's starting to get ruled out by the GDPS at this point. I do think that the Euro is a little bit more of a favorable outcome for you guys, but either way, it still looks like we're struggling to figure out which of these three, if any of these three, will be right. I think this will end up ultimately being a nowcast situation where we aren't going to really know until maybe the day of where this low tracks and what it may end up doing as a result. Because it starts out here, and then once we get to about, maybe I'd say Missouri, it's just fair game. GFS and the Canadian are kind of leaning more towards this being a big event for more so the Ohio Valley, the interior parts of the Mid-Atlantic, but over towards the Northeast, we're looking at mostly rain. Moisture is going to be too far out ahead of the cold air, and as a result, these areas may not see any snow at all as of right now. When we head towards the 27th, though, here's an interesting look. That Clipper looks robust enough to maybe make it to the southeast. I do find that interesting, so that's definitely going to be something that's on my radar after this event here, because the cold air does seem like it's set in place. GFS is the only one that's not on board with that as of right now, so we'll see what happens. We're still 168 plus hours out, so that's a whole week. So it's going to be hard to really hammer in on that. So that being said, let's go ahead and go to about 90 hours out, start taking a look at the snowfall totals. I wish I could get a hold of the National Weather Service blend of models, but that thing's on such a that thing's on a OOZ run right now. And the 18Z run really isn't valid at this point, so kind of in between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. But here's the three models we've been looking at. Here's the Euro. The Euro has an outcome where maybe North Georgia could see a trace of snow, but as far as totals for the Southeast, not a whole lot going there. Keep in mind though, this is 90 hours out. Most of the snow will start to fall a little bit after this point too, so going to be tricky trying to hammer down this forecast, considering 18Z Euro only goes out to this point. So we'll have to probably update it. I'll try and do it maybe tomorrow morning, depending on how much time I have for before I have to go to work. But you can see a pretty good swath of snow here towards West Virginia, parts of Pennsylvania here. Big totals are mainly going to be towards this part of the Ohio Valley, over towards the Great Lakes. We could be seeing areas potentially up to a foot, and this is according to the GFS right now. Nothing unusual for areas like this over here. Could see plenty of places where we're seeing up to almost 2 feet of snow, especially towards the higher elevations. A lot of scattered areas of 3 to 4 inches plus around the northwest. Towards the Central Plains, the snow seems like it'll be continuing to fall at this point, so these totals aren't going to be final. I'm actually looking at the Euro. Wow, I'm making a lot of mistakes. But this is what we're looking at right now. Compare that to the GDPS, the Canadian. Snow pushes a little further south, but kind of hard to hammer down what we have going there. We're looking at about maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches in some spots over towards Kentucky at this point in time. And then over towards Alabama, we could be seeing possibly up to an inch towards the northern tier of the state. Same for Mississippi. Georgia looks like you're going to be stiffed. North Carolina, South Carolina, at this point right now, it looks like you aren't seeing anything just yet. Same can be said for the GFS, but there is a bigger pocket of snow over here towards West Virginia. GFS has been favoring this region a lot. And then also it looks like Wisconsin and parts of Minnesota seem to be a little bit more favored in this run as well. So I'm going to jump this ahead about 48 hours if I can do the math right in my head. Actually, it's not going to go 48 hours. But yes, it can. I'm tripping. Alright, so here's what we're looking at this point. This is the GFS and the Canadian only at this point. It's kind of frustrating to do this forecast without the other two models. But look at the totals over here towards the Ohio Valley. This is the GFS. We're looking at areas where we could be seeing almost 3 feet of snow possibly. Over towards the Great Lakes in the UP of Michigan. Good grief. But this is where every model has this low tracking, so this isn't surprising. North of the border, we're seeing maybe 3 feet, maybe even more than that before all said and done. But right over towards Buffalo, that looks like a hot spot. In fact, I saw 42 inches. Yes, I did. Right there, 45. Almost 4 feet of snow over here. And then the same can be said over towards the interior parts of New York. Like I said, over towards the coastline, that's where we're kind of having some questions. Like New York City, in particular, Long Island. You guys, I'm not sure what's going on there with you, but you might not be seeing anything. I hope if you're looking for snow, I hope you get what you're looking for. Not, then looks like you like this forecast as of right now. Still got our hefty totals over towards the northwest. Make our comparison to the GDPS. Not too much different there. We have some hot spots. Maybe not quite as generous as the GFS is highlighting, but potential's there. And it looks like we do get a little bit of a trace towards my area as well. We get a decent little swath of snow towards the southern parts of Alabama and Mississippi. Carolinas, you guys look like you're going to be stiff. Virginia, you look like you're going to be stiff. Maryland, you might be stiff too. So, but all we can do is wait and see. It seems like the closer you are to the coastline, the less likely you are to get snow as of right now. So we'll finally move this up to about 162 hours out. This will be Monday morning, day after Christmas. And this is pretty much what we're staring down at this point. Like I said, the coastal area is not looking like there's going to be a lot to go with. Snow is literally just hanging off the border of North Carolina and Virginia here. And then over towards the southeast, we do get some... It looks like we do get a crack at maybe a trace of snow. Maybe half an inch at most. But GFS is just stiffing everybody over in this area right here. Towards the southeast and the outer parts of the mid-Atlantic get next to nothing. Big totals over towards the interior part of the mid-Atlantic, West Virginia, Ohio valleys. Plenty of areas where we could see up to about 4 inches plus of snow, maybe even 10 inches in some spots. Some places are going to be just at 2 feet, just under or maybe a little over 2 feet. Some places will flirt with 3. According to the GFS. Again, I think this is a little bit more generous than what we may actually receive. So don't take this model run to heart. If I had the Blenda models that I could look at here, then I'd feel a little differently. In fact, I may just go ahead and jump into that real quick. So here we are looking at about 162 hours out from this current run, and as you can see, big totals over here still. Maybe not 4 feet, but we do have some areas where we could see up to about 2 feet. Over towards Michigan, we have areas where we could see about 1.5 feet, close to 2 feet. Over towards the northernmost region of the Great Lakes, 2 to 3 feet possible. High totals over towards the higher elevations of the northwest. No surprises there. Towards the southeast is still a question mark right now, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But that's pretty much the end of this video here. This has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully this computer will be acting like how it is right now, and I'll just need to step my game up. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked the video, drop a like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.